Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Wholeness with Hannah. Today I'm joined by Chris Lovett, a writer, speaker, coach, and a real voice of reason in a world that feels increasingly busy, noisy, and burnt out. A few years ago, Chris had what many of us are told is the dream, the house, the career, the stuff, but beneath it all, he was exhausted, unfulfilled, and doing work that didn't really matter to him. Then, in a moment that feels almost symbolic, he stepped on a CD case while tidying up his living room, and that tiny annoyance sparked a complete life reset. So what started as decluttering a few items turned into decluttering everything, and within months Chris had let go of his home, his career, and most of his possessions and set off on a new adventure around the world. And from that, a less is more philosophy was born. Chris went on to share his story through writing, podcasts, and speaking. He released his Amazon best-selling book Discovery of Less and delivered a TEDx talk called Less Busy, More Impact, which inspired people globally to simplify their lives. And now Chris works as an executive and team coach, helping individuals and organizations declutter their professional lives. After seeing talented people drowning in meetings, emails, and relentless workload, he's turned his focus to tackling workplace business head on. And his new book, Relentless, which is out now, if you're listening in March 2026, and it explores how we can create sustainable high performance without burning out, which is something I, of course, love in my own life, my own work, and know so many of you will resonate with it. So welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Oh, Hannah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. What an intro. What an intro. Can you come and do that at every single one of my events? That'd be amazing.
I can try. You can hire me.
Oh, yeah. No problem. We'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so to start then, and I have obviously touched on a bit of your story, but do you want to tell us how you have become the, less is more
The less
kind
is
of
more
guy?
guy. Yeah. It's these kind of journeys never turn out like you planned them to, right? We always kind of fall into something in life, and some of us continue on that journey and become one with that identity. And like you said at the outset, for me, it was a Mark Morrison CD. It was Return of the Mac that I stepped on. So it is a tune. I had that album since 1996, so you can tell how long. So I started decluttering in 2017. So yeah, you can do the maths on that one. But yeah, it is an utterly ridiculous story, really, which has led to this kind of approach and this kind of career trajectory. But I love it, and I literally have nothing to thank for it because I've got nothing left. But yeah, it's a great journey, and the transition from decluttering the home life into work was fascinating, because I still vividly remember sitting on a bank of desks with people who were just bored, exhausted, doing stuff that didn't really matter, and I was just like, why are we doing all of this? And it was like, that's just the way it is. And yeah, I just stopped doing something one day, and that gave me a little bit of a seed of like, well, maybe not everything is as important as we believe it to be. And then I just went on a different journey of trying to understand why we get caught in this busyness, and the psychology and the social conditioning and all these entrenched narratives that we tell ourselves have been there for years and years and years. And that uncovers a load of stuff as to why, now we're facing a bit of a burnout epidemic, and, the higher stats of people being stressed out through work, and people quitting and wanting to leave, and the trust in leadership is at its lowest. So there's so many nuances and layers to it, and it just fascinates me, and then link it all back so you can actually achieve a lot more if you just focus on the things that really matter.
Yeah, I love that. I'm all about changing the burnout culture. So what did you actually do then? Like, what did you actually do to kind of uncover and be like, why am I doing this? Like, what was your process?
Oh, I just stopped doing a spreadsheet one day. Like, it wasn't the most fascinating bit of work in the world, but I just had this hunch that, there were just too many bits and too many tasks that were floating around the team. And I was like, surely if one person forgets to do something, no one's going to know. And at that time, I was like the new guy. So I could still lean on the fact that, I'm new, so I didn't know all the rules. So I kind of used that as a safety net. And I just didn't do something one day. And I purposely just left it, didn't do it. just to see what would happen if any, people in authority or leaders or anyone like that would kind of nudge me on the shoulder and kind of go, Chris, where's the thing we gave you? No one ever did, right? And so I just kind of then took it on from there, and I started to look around what other small things I could do that weren't too risky. So I left the meeting a little bit early, maybe 5 minutes. Nothing bad happened. The following week, maybe I declined a meeting because I was working on something else that was important, and surprise, surprise, nothing bad happened. No one even noticed. And it was just picking up all these little bits over time. And yeah, whilst everyone else was going off and panicking and being really flustered about being busy, I was just going, well, I've only got this one really important thing to do because that's what matters. And so I would deliver that just quicker than everyone else. And they'd be like, oh, this new guy's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not doing half of the rubbish that you lot are doing. And then, so everyone just believed that it was important, everything was important. And the reality was, you just have to choose which of the things that are the most important and do those. And the likelihood is that more people will give you more pats on the back for delivering the things that are most impactful than just delivering a load of stuff or responding to a bunch of emails that can't be measured or just not interested. So yeah, that's how I started, and that's I'll always recommend to people if they're looking at simplifying their work, is that it can be really scary, but the tiny thing you can do that proves to you that everything's going to be okay, do that one thing. And it might be decline a meeting because you've got something else on the go. It might be leave a little bit early. It might even be don't be the first person to respond to a group message. It's something as simple as that, because you'll quickly realise that the machine just keeps on turning. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I kind of did it. The smallest bit first, to prove to yourself that everything's going to be okay, and then you just keep going from there.
Love it. What industry were you in?
Financial services. Okay. So I went from insurance, which is fascinating. I used to catch bad guys for a living.
That's fun.
Well, yeah, it used to be. It used to be until you get to the point of like, this isn't fun anymore. And then I went into financial services and worked in a bank, which has its own kind of boringness around it. But yeah, I ended up becoming an executive coach in that bank because I crafted my way out of it. I crafted my way around the business. So I don't want to do this boring bit. I want to do more of the interesting stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of how I transitioned. But I now have a career portfolio where I kind of do the day
different
job
things.
And then various other bits and pieces as well.
Yeah, I love that. The reason I asked is because when you were talking, I used to work in finance, I used to work in a bank, and I was like, this is definitely finance.
Yeah.
But also, I'm sure there's people listening that work in all sorts of industries and still relate. But I do, I see it all the time. I'm an organisational psychologist now, so I see it all the time.
I love it. That's my dream job, by the way. That's kind of what I want to be doing.
Well, you can sort of craft it to like what you want it to be. There's so many different routes. It's not like a set career path, which is also why I liked it and wanted to do it. But I do think in organisations, we have meetings that don't need to be there. But I was going to say to you, why do you think people need to feel so busy all the time?
The classic line is there's a badge of honour to it. So, and it's part of how we've been educated and how we've been socialised in family situations and in workplaces as well, because being busy means you're doing something. Right, so a full calendar indicates to people that you're important, that you're in demand, you've got stuff going on, right? And then you look under the hood of that, and if you look in the calendar and you're like, well, actually, 70% of it is pointless, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And you kind of go, oh, well, that busyness badge of honour then becomes a little bit tarnished. And me specifically, I've always grown up as like work hard. We must work hard. And so that's just the only way I knew to progress in life. And then you're told these other narratives through school is, don't ever question authority because the teacher knows everything, right? So don't do that. So you then go into a workplace and you don't challenge leaders or people of authority because you believe that they have the right skill set and the right knowledge, which most of the time they do, right? And we're built and we're educated, and the system is educated for us to go onto a factory line and follow a group of instructions rather than make decisions on the things that are most important for that team or that business or that customer or whatever it is. So we have to change that narrative of, if I'm full 9 to 5 or whatever the shift is, then I'm achieving something. But there's a lot of the time we'll get home or log off and we'll go, how's your day, babe? And you'll be like, oh, exhausted, manic. And you'll be like, oh yeah, what have you achieved? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You've just been doing things that are of low value because they're easy. Attending a meeting that you don't need to be at. Running a meeting that's way too long, hours too long that it needs to be, quickly responding to emails, which is, a lot of this time where people get caught up because we ping every messaging and we allow that to happen. We allow all those distractions to move us away from the thing we're supposed to be doing. So yeah, there is still, annoyingly, a status around being busy and overworking and, leaving the office late or being online over the weekends and things like that, because it shows a certain level of presenteeism. But with this book, I'm hoping to kind of knock that narrative a little bit, because now it's gone too far the other way, where we're seeing talented people lose their lives because of overworking, and we're seeing hordes of business cultures, morale, trust, etc., just go down the pan because there's just too much to do. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I think also so many people, their worth is tied to their productivity. Who am I if I'm not busy? A lot of people cannot sit with themselves for 5 minutes in silence, and I think that is a huge problem. And I mean, I probably used to be one of those people. I'm definitely not that person anymore. There's nothing I love more than silence, but I do think when we slow down, it's confronting, isn't it? It's really confronting, because as soon as you stop, you realize what's actually going on in your head, in your body, and stuff that kind of might come up that you've been pushing down. And I think that's a big part of it. It's like the identity piece of work. It was for me back in the day, back in banking. It was like, who am I without this job? Who am I if I'm not constantly tired and telling people how busy I am? And I mean, I don't know if you get asked this a lot now, but a question I get asked a lot is, because I've got a completely different life now, my life couldn't be more different. I am in charge of my own time and my schedule, and I'll only do work I want to do, which is a privilege, but also a life I've created. So, and people are always like, so what's next?
Congratulations, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you. And you enjoy your work. It's rare that people enjoy their work, but the question I get is, everyone wants to know what's next. Everyone's like, okay, so you've done that. So what are you doing next? And I'm slowly getting used to saying, I don't really have a plan. I've planted my seeds. I only do work I really want to do, that I care about. And it finds me. And that triggers people. They're like, what? What do you mean? So like, what are you doing tomorrow? And I'm like, just wake up and see. And people hate it. But it's, I'm like, this is how I work now, and it's so much better. And don't get me wrong though, one of my biggest lessons in life has been learning to slow down. It has been learning that nothing bad is going to happen, that I get to choose, that, it's more important that I fill up my own cup. Otherwise I cannot show up for other people. So yeah, I mean, and as you said, it's become so normalized. I just want to banish this burnout culture, and it is still there. But it is slowly starting to, what I'm finding in the talks I do and stuff, and people I speak to, they are very aware of it. They're like, yeah, I'm so burnt out. I need this, this, and this. But I'm like, okay, so what's your plan? Like, what are you doing about it? And they're, oh, I can't, I'm too busy. And then it's just like, well, nothing's going to change. So how do you start working with people in organizations and leaders, say, do they push back against it, or are they up for it? And how do you start them simplifying things?
Yeah, I mean, I love your story, by the way. Yeah, I think it's the awareness piece, and there is an element of just easing people into it, because what you're saying there and the kind of approach that you and I have taken can be considered very counterculture. Right, so even things that have been going on for years, like the 4-day work week, it's still being debated, especially in the UK government as well. You've got some of public services who've done lots of experimentation for lots of periods of time and seen real progress, and then you've got a system that is basically rejecting it because it sounds a bit wrong. Do less? Well, we can't, because that means you'd be achieving less. Well, actually, no, you remove a lot of the waste so you can achieve more of the things that are important. So I've toyed around with some of the language, and I'm finding that people don't like to be associated with the term burnout. So, because it still displays an element of I'm not strong enough. So what I tend to do is use terms like simplify. Because again, when you say things like, oh, let's do less, when you're going into a system that is driven around like we must deliver and perform and things like that, it has a almost like a negative connotation to it. Mm-hmm. So I've toyed around with different words that land a bit easier for people. So I tend to use simplify, and they go, oh yeah, I would love to simplify. I'm like, great, okay, now we're in. It's about showing the awareness, because people tend to think I don't have enough time, and that's the kind of key term I keep hearing. I need more time. I need to carve out more time. And I'm like, that's actually impossible. Like you can't grab a stick and start chipping away at time, which is not possible, right? So we have to make all of our decisions a bit more aware. So we bring that to the surface and we kind of go, and then we do those tiny experiments. What about if we just didn't go to that meeting? And so there's a great case study that I put in the book. And again, all the stuff that's in the book is real, from real people. And so I had a client called Bob. That wasn't his real name, but obviously I'm changing it because that's our gardener's name. So Bob had what I call like calendar Tetris. So almost like the blocks everywhere, on top of each other, side by side. It looked crazy. And he said, time is my problem. Yeah, I really struggle with time. So I said, well, why don't we just decline all those meetings that you've got this week? I can't do that. And so the narrative dropped in. So we kind of like, well, explored why can't I do that? Well, because I'm the subject matter expert. I'm the leader. I'm the authority. I need to be there. So yeah, there's an element of like this guy, Bob, who holds a lot of knowledge and experience, and yes, is quite important to projects running and team meetings, all that stuff. But there's an element of reality where you go, so what happens like just when you're off work one day? Oh, it's very rare, I was like, so when that does happen, like what happens? Does the world shut down, or, oh no, someone else goes in my place? I was like, great. And then it's a realisation that actually when you say yes to one thing, you're by default saying no to anything else anyway, right? So as a tiny experiment, we declined a whole week's worth of meetings. He just asked the people that were creating the meetings, can I just check what do I need to be there for? And do I need to be there for the whole time? That was it, asking those two questions. Why do you want me there? And do I need to be there the whole time? Only one person out of like 20 came back to him and said, oh yeah, we just need you to sign that off. But you don't need to be there the whole time. If you can dip in for the first 10 minutes, we'll cover that bit off and then you can go. So out of all of those hours that were apparently immovable, just gone. Just like that, right? And so he's like, well, I've managed to do some stuff. I need to do some work. So he managed to do some work. Yeah. And then it had a ripple effect across the team, because then he was able to delegate a little bit more, which gave his team members a bit more exposure to different people and helped grow their capability. He got some time back. And also it just realised that, I don't need to be in every single meeting all of the time. So it was more of if I go to these meetings, I am important. I do have that identity connected to it. And there was a little bit of a like Ron Burgundy, like I'm kind of a big deal because I get invited to all these things, right? And it's good to feel, it feels good to be invited to stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we all love to go to be invited to things. And so, yeah, there's that little bit of dopamine hit that we get when we're invited. And it's just bringing all of that to the surface and kind of going, right, now you know all of that. What decisions do you want to make? Because yes, you can do all of that, but the consequence is you'll be saying that you don't have enough time. And now we know it's not time, it's your decision making and what you have to prioritise. So that's pretty much what I do with most individual clients, and with teams it's quite different because there's many narratives that are going on at the same time. So you might have some people that view success as in number of things they do, and other people who view success as big impact one thing, or people that I'm impacting or whatever it is. So it's fascinating in regards to culture, it's fascinating in regards to people's work ethic, and so there's loads and loads of narratives out there, and once you kind of show people that and tell them that it can be quite easy, then it opens up a whole different world for them, and it's fascinating. And sometimes they come back to me weeks or months later, and they'll give me a little nudge. They go, Chris, you'll be pleased to know that I said no. I said no to someone. Like, check you out. Well done, you. Well done. It's like a proud parent moment. It's like, oh, yes. So yeah, the tiny little things, prove to yourself that it's possible and everything's going to be okay, and that gives you the impetus to keep going.
Yeah, no, I love that. And two things that just came to me is in leadership roles, I think, say you've been doing a job like that has a lot of day to day, and then you go up into a leadership role. I often find that people are like, it's great that I'm a leader, but I don't get to do any of the stuff I enjoyed now. I'm just overseeing the team, or I'm in loads of meetings. And I think I've had a lot of people say to me that they wanted the promotion, they wanted to become more senior, but it's not actually giving them the fulfillment that they thought it would, because it's taken them away from actually the work that was meaningful for them. And then I guess what you're saying, that could really help them by, do you really need to be in all these meetings, or can you also be doing other stuff with your team, being more involved yourself? It's what you said, about saying no. I always say to people that, like, no is the most powerful word, but we have such a hard time saying no. It's a boundary, and people don't like boundaries, and people find it really hard to set boundaries. But the more you say no to something, the more you can say yes to yourself, and then that is the ripple effect, isn't it?
Oh, it's massive, and you know what? It sounds like you're giving rejection, and again, as we've grown up, we've felt rejection as hurtful. Especially in school, if you're asking someone to go to the prom with you and they tell you no, oh my God, horrible. And then as you grow up, you get rejected for jobs, and you get all sorts of, and it's horrible. So yes, of course, from a societal perspective where we're quite communal, of course we don't want to reject other people and tell them no. And then you layer in the risks associated with that go all the way back to like cave people days. Because if we were away from the group dynamic, we would tend to be ostracised, right? We'd be left alone, which means no access to shelter or food, warmth. So you'd likely would die, right? So that's ingrained in us, is that, well, if I say no, especially if I say no to an authority figure, if I say no to my boss, we're going to go, right, we're going to get fired. I'm not going to get asked to do anything again. I'm going to get reputation. Whereas again, like you were saying, it's the opposite. It's slightly true, but we have a real struggle with delivering that message. And so again, I always try to help people find a middle ground and make it a little bit softer for people. So it doesn't feel like a rejection. It feels like, you know what, I'd love to help, but I just can't right now because I've got A, B, C, D, E. And that's a little bit softer, because then people kind of go, oh, okay, well, Hannah's got loads on, so I'll maybe come back in a month. And so, yeah, once you have that extra little bit of clarity, people tend to realise, oh yeah, okay, well, if it was on her priority list, then she would have helped, but can't do it this time. And you know what? People tend to go, oh, that's fine. I'll find something else or someone else to help.
Yeah, I actually love it when someone sets a boundary. Like, but that's because I respect it in myself, and I often do boundary practice. Like I do it in low
Check you out.
low
Yes.
stakes like situations, like I don't know, getting your coffee, and sometimes I get a cappuccino. Well, I don't. I always get matcha, but I used to get a cappuccino, and people would say, you know, do you want chocolate on that? And you know, you automatically want to say yes, but I'm like, no, I don't actually want chocolate on that. No, I'm fine, thanks. Or you know, I live near Shoreditch, and there's always people in the street collecting money or for charities, which is lovely, right? And I've donated, but not every single time. So I use that as boundary practice. When someone's like, "Hi, miss," today, I'm like, "Not today," and I've started being like, "Not today," and that is it.
Brilliant.
Or, "No, thank
Great.
you, I'm good, thank
Yeah.
you," and then
Yeah.
you know. And that feels like, oh, but then the more you get used to it, I know it's not because I'm a bad person. It's just like, no, I'm okay, thank you. And
Yeah,
they need
that's
to
right.
like respect that. So I always tell people like start with lower stakes things, because I know it is, as you said, it is particularly hard at work and it's particularly hard to your boss. But I think the hierarchy thing is so weird. I mean, I was part of it for 12 years, but now I'm like, that person is, you know, it's just because someone's more senior. I get that there needs to be a hierarchy because of the world we live in and well, not, you know, but sometimes I think that person is also just a human, that if they are your boss, they should want you to do well. So if something is too much for you, they should care. And if they don't, you need a new boss. So
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing, it's I love that example, by the way. The charity one is great. And I think there's an easy reframe for people. And again, because the narratives have been so entrenched for so long, people tend to replay the story over and over and over again. And the more you replay it, the more it becomes the truth, right? So I always just give people a little reframe, is that if you were to say yes to everything, doesn't that sound like chaos? And so the people that are responsible for delivering important things, your job is to deliver important things. Your job is not to say yes to everything, right? So, and it's just that slight reframe that makes people go, oh yeah, that's a really good point, actually. And then if people are, they find their perception very important. If I say, well, you saying yes to everything, it means that you can't organise. Well, no, I want to be seen as organised. Well, pick one thing that you're not going to do. All right, well, I'm not going to do that. There you go. Job done. And they go, okay, well, I'm more organised now. And I'm like, well, there it is, right? So, yeah, so reframing also helps a lot of people when you kind of go, if you just say yes to everything, you're going to be known as the person who's chaotic.
yeah,
and cannot have boundaries.
And doesn't have a moment for themselves, which no one wants. So your new book is called Relentless, and I am assuming that is because, you know, what we spoke about, the culture and a lot of people feeling it is relentless all of the time. So tell us a bit about your new book. What have you covered?
Thanks. Yeah, so I came up with that title in 2022, and I'm so
really?
glad it's finally out. Yeah, so that's all I heard. I'd be like seeing teams or clients or friends. I'd be like, "How's it going?" And they'd be like, "Oh, and it'd be like these exact words. It'd be like, "It's just relentless," and I'd be like, "Oh, there's less at the end of that word. That means that continues my my theme of my less is more theme." And I was like, "Okay, brilliant." So it's almost like I know it's bad because I've been there and you've been there, right? I know it's bad. But also, if you focus on the less part, we can make it less bad. And so I just had that idea and used the case studies that I'd come across in my day-to-day life. And I always find, Hannah, that we're sitting on a goldmine of stories, by the way. All these examples. And I kind of like, well, there's a bit more to just me saying to people, why don't you put no in your language? And there was research behind it and the science behind it. And then it kind of went from just being almost like a productivity book to something that was then tapping on burnout and overworking and things like that. Because at that time, I'd been doing plenty of research and talks about, like, you know, people dying because of strokes and heart attacks that have been caused because of an overworking approach to their life, and various other bits and pieces. And I saw quite a few in the mainstream, and I was like, this is bad. And the stats start to come out about burnout, especially just after COVID. And then 2023, 24, and they didn't get better, and everything else seemed to drop. And I just went, well, I need to help people. And so I started writing a book a couple of years ago and had plenty of content, but I made sure to keep the theme of less. So when people get the book, there's less pages, there's less words, and there's built-in breaks, because even things like people don't take a lunch break anymore. So the lunch break, according to like loads of data and studies and things like that, has started to drop over the last 20 years. So the lunch hour, right, take an hour lunch, right? It's probably in your contract, right, to take a lunch break. And it went from like 43 minutes as your average lunch hour back in like 2008. Then over time it started to gradually reduce. So I think by 2030, the average lunch hour will just be about 20 minutes. And then by the time that we're old and wrinkly, the average lunch hour will just be a story that we tell our grandkids, like Blockbuster Video.
Yeah, there used to be a lunch hour.
I know, or having to ring the house phone to talk to people. So that it will just be like a distant memory. So yeah, it's like 23 or 24 minutes, something like that. So in the book, there's built-in breaks. So I'm literally telling people, put the damn thing down and go and make a nice cup of something, or go and stroke your dog, or have a walk around the block. And so, literally telling people it's good for you. It's no longer good for you to power through. Like, stop powering through, because these are all consequences. And actually, I'm going to frame it so that you having a break is good for your performance. Because again, people in high stakes situations, they will, rest is for the weak, or sleep when you're dead and all that.
Oh my God, I hate that phrase more than any other phrase in the world. When someone's sleep when you're dead, I'm like, what? That doesn't even make sense. Like, you have a life, use it. Don't sleep when you're dead. Like, sleep is so important. It makes me angry, that phrase, as you can see.
I'm glad I've noted that I triggered you. Well, even like things like that. So what I've done is I'm conscious of the social narrative, right? Especially in the UK, where we've grown up that hard work means you're successful. But actually, you could be out there all day digging a ditch with a spade, or you could spend 30 minutes hiring a tractor and digging it out and doing it in one go, right? So, so I have make sure that I've reframed it for people that are like wary of coming across as lazy or stuff like that. So I've just reframed it as like, sleep is good for performance, and here is why, and here is all of the sports stars and elite athletes and performers that basically swear by it. And so there's plenty of data and science and telling people why doing less is a good thing. There's plenty of stories, from my own personal life and clients. Even there's like, I'm very good at, looking at my own life and kind of going, well, that was a bit idiotic. And I put all that in there as well. So there's plenty of humour, and it's light, because burnout and work stress can be quite a tough topic to talk about. So I've made it so people can have a bit of hope, and they kind of pick it up and they kind of go, oh, this is a nice, cool read. Oh wow, there's death. Yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, there is a little bit, but this is just to reinforce you that that's the consequence. But actually, on our journey, it's very light and very flowy, and I'll be telling you, put it down. So once you've found something in there, put the thing down and go and do it. And when you're ready, just come back and pick it up. So each chapter is about 5 to 6 minutes long, and everyone's got 5 minutes. So you can literally pick it up, read a chapter, and in each chapter there'll be maybe 3 or 4 little tips that are proven to work. go and try one, and then come back and tell me, actually, because I've left my email in the book, right? Yeah. So message me and tell me what worked, what didn't work, tell me all the goss, etc. But yeah, touching on the sleep thing, because I know that annoyed you. So recently, this is what we're dealing with here. So recently there was a front page headline called "Sleeping on the Job," right? Which again, the narrative that we've grown up in is lazy. How dare they rob a living? And in the picture was I think the chief exec of the NHS, who had just been to a meeting at the House of Commons, and then they were back on the train going somewhere else. So they'd been all over the country, and they were on a train, and they were caught having a little nap on the train. First thing, I don't know who's taking pictures of people sleeping on the train. That's weird. A bit worrying, right? And then, front page news, you're lazy, how dare you, and you told us that you were going to work really hard and at pace and stuff like that. And then I put this on LinkedIn, right? Just kind of like, this is what we're dealing with here. Even though we know that sleep is really good for you, and actually taking a nap, having a nap during your workday, if you can do it, of course, for like 20, 30 minutes is going to boost your alertness and stabilise, and any new learning is going to go in as well. But yet the narrative is it's bad. So that's the hard work. And everybody, literally everybody, just piled on and said, this guy should be rewarded for taking a nap because he's on a train, can't do anything anyway.
Yeah.
If he was on Southern Rail, we'd probably been delayed. And so he's doing the exact thing that high performers do. They spot an opportunity to go, right, I'm going to rest my brain, or I'm going to recover so I can go again for the rest of the day.
Totally. Rest is productive. Like, if you're not resting, you don't have the energy to do half as much as you would. I always say that it's more important to manage your energy than it is your time, because you can have all the time in the world, but if you haven't got any energy, you're not going to be doing anything, are you? But yeah, that highlights, doesn't it? And when you were talking before, I was thinking about, how the lunch hour thing, especially, like how it's been so normalized. And I think that was one thing I really struggled with in finance when I had my burnout, was like, why am I so weak? Why can everyone else around me do this? And really, no one could do it well. Everyone was tired. Everyone was burning out. But everyone just thought it was normal. And then when I'm out of the industry, I'm like, it is not normal. It is not okay. We do not have to work like this. And the fact that it has been normalized is the problem. The system is the problem. And like going back to the rest thing as well, I think it really confronts people if they see you resting or see you choosing yourself. And because I think a lot of people unconsciously do not believe they are worthy of rest. It's like the ultimate reward, isn't it? And it's like, as you said, I'm lazy if I rest. And I just like choose to reject that so hard in my life now, which again, lessons taken a long time. And I don't really ever speak to many people, even my friends, that say that they are rested. Like, everyone's always tired, but I make a point of now being like, no, I'm good. I slept for 9 hours last night. I don't set an alarm. And it does. People are a bit like, oh, nice to be you. And I'm like, yeah, you should try it. It does. It makes a difference to your whole life and obviously there are times, if you have kids, if you have a new baby or whatever, I understand that you can't do that. But while I can, I am going to do that.
Good for you. Damn right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you, mate. And I think that's the bit. I was like, oh, I'd be lucky. Yeah, you're lucky to have that. But actually, it is the power in making those decisions. And I think people do have this, again, that goes back to the narrative thing about they don't have a choice. But actually, the reality is you do.
Of course.
And so there's choice and permission. So I think there's elements for me that people don't feel that they have permission to take a rest, to have an hour lunch break, to do those certain things. So what I've found in organisations, not just the one that I'm in now, but like in every single one I worked in and the ones I go into, is that there's always two things that need to happen. Is permission granted from the top or the
Yeah.
authority figure. And that doesn't necessarily mean like a blanket email said, please take your hour lunch break. People need to see it.
Yeah, it's got to be modelled.
So it's got to be modelled, because the trust is low. And that all comes back from COVID. Like, you say a thing, but you did the opposite. We can't trust what you say. So that permission comes from somewhere. And then the second permission is yourself. So I give myself permission to log off 20 minutes early because I've done something really good today. Or I've had a really awful day today. Loads of complaints, or dealing with someone that's quite difficult. You know what I need, I'm going to give myself permission to log off 20 minutes early. The likelihood is no one is ever going to question that, right? But because we've gone to the nth degree, it's like, right, what if my boss asks me where I am or what I'm doing? The simple answer is, I'm giving myself 20 minutes off so I can be better tomorrow, or for the next day, or for the next thing, or whatever it is. And they're going to go, oh yeah, that's cool. That's mature. You're looking after yourself so you can perform better. And again, that's the reframe, is give yourself permission first. And you'll find that you quickly don't need permission from anybody else. And then over time, you start to create the culture, because then people start following you, right? Oh, Hannah's taking it. Where's Hannah? She's lunch. Oh, okay, cool. And all of a sudden someone else goes on lunch, and then the whole team go on lunch. And then, oh, Hannah, you come into this meeting? No, I can't. I've got this other thing to do. Like, whoa, are you not coming? No, because I've got this other really important thing that needs to be done this week. Oh, wow, okay. It's seen you've done it. Someone else does it. And that's how culture changes and ripples through the organisation. So you don't necessarily need someone at the top who has the power to tell you or give you permission. You have to just give it to yourself.
Yeah, you have to give it to yourself, definitely. So this is all around like doing less, but what about having less, owning less? So like when you stepped on your CD and then you cleared out your house.
Story,
Because the last few months I've been doing so much clearing out, and I'm like energetically in my life creating space for change, for new things. But also, our physical space is also, I think, a representation of our internal world as well. So when everything's really chaotic around you and, you've got stuff everywhere, you feel a bit more like that inside, or, one's representing the other. So you obviously cleared everything out. And I think everyone listening will relate to how good it feels to have a clear out. But yeah, how did that work for you?
Oh, brilliant. But again, this is all by accident, right? So I didn't know almost like the power of having less, because again, I was just conditioned that success meant having physical things, the latest things, lots of things, and then things like titles and salaries and status, having a house and a car and all those things. It was literally by mistake, because I just didn't have enough room to put stuff on shelves anymore, and it was all over the floor. And so I first did it because it was a necessity, and then I got money back. It was only a very small amount, right? So I think maybe 7, 8 years ago, you used Music Magpie, you scanned the barcode, right? And they offered you like 20p for an album that you bought 15 years ago at £20, and you're like, oh god, wow, the thing that I'm holding on to that's how much it's worth. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. So you have to sell a certain amount of things to go over the threshold, and the threshold at that time was £5, right? So I was like, right, I've got to sell £5 worth of stuff, and I couldn't get above the threshold because all my stuff wasn't worth anything. Eventually I had to find a few more things, so with DVDs, CDs, I remember computer games, books that I'd never read, got over the threshold, and it was like dozens of bits. And I was like, and by the end of the weekend they were gone, and I was like, well, I saw a bit of money there. What else haven't I not used? And so you start connecting the dots, like, oh, I've got 2 copies of that, or well, there's a book I hated, and it just keeps going and going and going, and so you did the low hanging fruit first, things that I didn't even know I had, didn't like, or have used and don't need them anymore. And then it was clothes, and then that was a bit harder because it was your identity and memories and things like that. And then it was, the person that I want to be like. So all these kitchen utensils, if I had the best pan, I'd be a better cook. And that didn't turn out to be like that. And so you kind of like, you start to question all of these identity things and the type of person that you want to be. And actually all that stuff is just created by you. And it's all about the life you lead. So in the end, it was in about 6 months, there was nothing left. So pretty much sold it all, sold the car, sold the flat. I took a sabbatical from work, which basically meant, well, you're not going back. And I had no keys. So people used to have like lots of keys as an indication that they owned stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't have any keys, right? So I was like, well, that's a metaphor for life. Just whatever clothes I had left, just put them in a backpack, a bit of tech, a bit of cash, and off I went. And letting go of all of that stuff gave me the financial impetus to then try something else. So you'd be surprised how much money is sitting in people's lofts, sheds, garages. Clothes that don't fit anymore. I do it all the time. I'm still doing it now. Little bits go in every now and then. You go, oh, there's a holiday there. There's a holiday out of old junk that I never used or that I once was useful and isn't anymore. But decluttering opened that whole world to me. And so then I kind of got known for that, and then went back into work, and I was like, I told people about this decluttering story, and they were like, oh wow, that's amazing. And then it literally just clicked, landed on my lap, and I'm like, well, people can declutter their work. And I was like, there's one example, there's another one, and the stories just started dropping from everywhere. And I was like, so there we are, there's the thread.
So you think you found your thing? This is your thing. This is what you're here to do.
Well, I think when you kind of like all the arrows start pointing, you make idiotic moves. The stories that you tell are real and they're relatable. Like stepping on a CD case is an innocuous thing that we all do, or whether it is you stub your toe on the bed frame, or you lock yourself out the front. We all do random things like that, and that can lead you down a path. And it led me down a path. I'm still walking it. I don't know what's at the end of the path. I'm just still walking down this less is more path. But after a while, lots and lots of people, friends, clients, all sorts of people, they're like, this story really resonates. So that it kind of got validated externally after I had done the internal validation of like, oh, I got all this spare space, because space creates opportunity and excitement. Yep. Oh, whenever you move house and you look at, I can put a thing in there. It energises you. And then you get time and money, and you're like, I can do more things. So the impetus went there, and it just carried on, and we're still carrying on right now.
Yeah, I love that. There's no destination, is there? That's not the point. And I think when we let go of the destination, we actually can start putting one foot in front of the other slowly and not being anxious about where we're going, and you're just embodying your path, which I love.
Doing the thing. I'm doing the thing.
You're doing the thing. So I'm just thinking, because we're rounding up in a minute, but if someone's listening and they're feeling maybe like a bit overwhelmed, they don't feel like they have the option to quit their job or radically simplify their life, like you or Robin Sharma in The Monk That Sold His Ferrari.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
But where would you say they realistically start then, if they're a bit like, oh, I don't like my job, I'm not doing something I really want to do, but I can't quit right now, and I've got loads of stuff, like what do I do? Just to start.
Yeah. And, that all gets, ironically, that all gets answered in the book, because I'm conscious that a lot of people, we can't down tools, right? We've got bills to pay. We've got mortgages, we've got caring responsibilities. It'd be great if we could, but no. So it is literally about make this week less shit than the week before. Right?
Okay.
And it is the tiniest things that no one else will notice, that you'll notice. Sometimes I say to people, if you start at home, if you want to, and just let go of one thing in your house that is yours, that you own, that after about a day you'll forget it was even there. It could be a book.
Yeah.
It could be something that's been stored away for such a long time. Trust me, you will forget about it very, very quickly. So once you do that, it's easy to do it with your work, where the perceived stakes are a lot higher. But it is just the tiniest thing to give you enough evidence to prove that nothing bad is going to happen. And yeah, some people use attending a meeting 5 minutes later than everybody else, or leaving 5 minutes early, and even just saying, I've got to shoot off a bit early, I'm just letting you know. Trust me, other people are too busy for it to register anyway, right? So I think we call that like the spotlight effect. We think that all of our decisions, problems are out there into the world for everyone to see. Well, in fact, the reality is a lot of people don't really care. They've got their own stuff going on. So it was all about you. Do something very, very small. Don't respond immediately to an email or a message. Give it an hour. Give it 2 hours. It will always come back. And yeah, decline a meeting if you feel that it's not that important to you. So yeah, do one tiny, tiny thing to prove to yourself that everything's going to be okay. And then do the next tiny thing.
Step at a time.
So your sustainable working life is literally around the corner. So yeah, you don't need a big message from anybody. You don't need to make a big deal or a big announcement that you're doing anything. You literally just do something privately, and away you go.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I guess people can even do it with their calendars outside of work. So a lot of the time people are like, oh, I'm booked up for the next 20 weekends. And I'm like, why? Like, why are you doing that to yourself? Like, have some space. Because also with weekends, I love having a free weekend because something always happens. Something always comes in at the last minute, and that couldn't happen. And I wouldn't be able to say yes to something that was really exciting if I had fully booked for the next 20 weeks. I really believe in this leaving space for the universe to fill in the gaps. I really love doing that. And I think there's power in doing that. And, when I said it's been a bit of a journey for me of learning to slow down, and I remember listening to a podcast a few years ago that was about, basically gave me this like affirmation to keep saying, and it was, Hannah does less, Hannah attracts more. And I cannot tell you how true that is.
Brilliant, I love that.
Yeah, like the less you do, the more your world can open up as well, and new things can come in, and it's the space thing. So yeah, I love your work. I love what you're doing, and I think it's so needed for the burnout culture, which is an area of my research as well. So I love that. Okay, so we're going to round up, but is there anything you would like to leave the listeners with?
I mean, your story's great. I love that. I love that line. I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, everyone should just insert your own name in it.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I think there's opportunities here, and that's what I kind of provide with this new book is, you are in control of your work life. The belief is that we're not, but the reality is that we are, especially how we spend our time and the decisions that we make. So now it's time to regain a bit more control, because we can see the way it's going, right? The stats and the mainstream media are telling us you've got to calm down. Like literally, there's a British Airways advert that you might have heard. I'm furious. Over half of us Brits are not taking our holiday seriously.
Oh yeah.
So that's one. You've got all these, like Idris Elba's doing one for Service Now, I think it is, where it's like, your people are buried in busy work, what are you doing? So you've got all these like mainstream areas going, calm down, slow down, it's too much. And you've got the narrative over in the States, in Silicon Valley, where it's obviously the AI race, where they're like, you can forget your work-life balance. Once you come in here, you're working 80 hours a week. That's what we do here, right? And so we know where it's heading. So yeah, utilize the tools you have at your disposal. Use AI to reduce some of the kind of drudgery work, the low admin stuff, and just make better decisions, because the ones who achieve more are going to be the ones that deliver impactful change, not the ones who respond to the most amount of emails. So I don't think that was ever on anyone's job title, is to attend the most meetings and respond to the most amount of emails. So just deliver really good stuff, and that's enough.
Yeah, definitely. And take your lunch break.
If you can, please take your lunch break. If you don't take anything else away from this podcast, it's just take your full lunch break.
And your full holiday allowance. I always think that as well.
Yes. As a bare minimum. There you go. There are your 2 things to do for the next month.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And where can the listeners find you? I will link your books and stuff in the show notes, but...
Thank you. So if you just go on to chrislovett.co.uk, that's my website. I hang out there. Or I'm on pretty much all the socials.
Okay.
Mostly on LinkedIn and TikTok now for some reason. Because people like taking the mickey out of my hair. So if you're listening to this and you're like, what the hell is he on about? Yeah, then you come and have a look. But yeah, so that's where I'm hanging out. So please feel free to come and connect and chat more about less.
Amazing. Well, congratulations on your book as well. That's exciting, and all the great work you're doing. So thank you so much for talking to me today. I loved it.
Pleasure, Hannah. Thank you.